just getting everything set back up, so just bear with me.
Yes, sir. And does it depict Lena out in front of the residence for a certain amount of time after she gets home from school?
Yes, sir.
And does it accurately depict that as to what you saw in 6643 from 6643 Mandan Drive?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 46.
Exhibit 46 will be admitted.
And then People's Exhibit 47. You have that? What is People's Exhibit 47?
It's going to be later again in the day. Harley returns home to the house.
And again, does that accurately depict that portion of the video that you reviewed from 6643 Mandan Drive?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 47. And then finally, we have People's Exhibit 220 there. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is People's Exhibit 220?
When the vehicle leaves the house later in the day.
Would that be the next day of January 28th, 2020?
Yes, sir.
And did you review the surveillance video on the 28th in the morning hours?
Yes, sir.
From 6643 Mandan Drive? Does that People's Exhibit 220 accurately depict what you saw? A vehicle leaving 6627, another vehicle backing out and backing into the garage?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 220.
Okay. Exhibit 220 will be admitted.
So we're going to go back to People's Exhibit 41. We indicated that it's 2 clips. Can we just briefly summarize what we're about to see, or would you prefer to do that after?
I'm going to do it after.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. So why don't we publish People's Exhibit 41. And again, these are 2 clips. We'll start with the first clip on the disc, okay? So why don't we pause that? I'm sorry, Mr. Gratiano. So now that we see the first slides of this, at where 6627 will be located, there should be a pointer.
Yes, sir. So right here is the red Nissan Frontier associated to this address. So this house right here would be 6627.
And can we see the black teak line in this image?
I thought it was
And
almost
so
dead.
6643, the a couple houses north of 6627. So we're now looking from north to south.
Alright, do we need to go and sit down here now?
Yes,
Do you want this before I go? Did you remember what it was?
Yeah, no, I need that.
The kid in the white hat, I think that's the one that's on, that's Leland Davis, the one.
Save it.
I think this is not a chat video.
Oh no, how do you do your? It's wrong. It's not here. There we go. Yeah, I got it.
We've seen an individual walking there to the red Nissan truck. Do you know who that individual is?
It appeared to be Gannon.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Well, does Gannon drive the truck?
No, sir.
All right, guys, I'll be back in
Sorry,
just a
go
few
ahead.
Can you
moments.
see from there?
Yes, sir.
Why don't we continue playing like this happens, okay? Does that kind of refresh your recollection who that might be?
Yes, sir. I believe that was Miss Stauch moving the truck.
Defendant Ms. Stauch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we go ahead and resume, please? Thank you. Good deposit, please. Now we see an individual walk towards the back of the red Nissan. Do you know who that individual is?
I apologize for before that was Gannon.
Is this when we see Gannon come to the truck?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall the clothing that he had on?
I do not.
Is it a little bit more difficult to see on these TV monitors than a computer?
Yes, sir.
I imagine when you're watching these videos, you're probably looking at a computer screen.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and hit resume, please. That's clip 1 for the record. It's approximately 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, clip 2, does that overlap clip 1 a little bit? Will we pick up towards the end of clip 1 and then take it from there?
Yes, sir.
We can play clip 2 now, please. And for the record, that concludes clip 2 of People's Exhibit 41, which is 3 minutes and 1 second long. We talked about when you initially saw this video, you were sitting at a computer screen. Would you take notes as to what you actually saw happen and then later transfer those notes to a report?
Yes, sir.
And do you have that report there in front of you?
I believe so.
I'll direct you to page 3 of 4 of your report dated March 10th, 2020. Page stamp 11137.
I'm sorry, you said March 10th?
Yes.
I do not have that one with me.
Okay. Let me approach her.
You may.
A copy of the report.
Yes, sir.
And do you have the descriptions of what you see taking place on the video as you're watching it from your computer screen?
Yes, sir.
And can you just kind of read to yourself what you have noted from People's Exhibit 41 that we just saw when Gannon and the defendant leave in the red Frontier truck?
Yes.
Okay, have you had a chance to do that?
Yes, sir.
And in your report, you specifically put who walks out to the truck when it's in the street, gets in it, drives out, and backs into the driveway.
Yes, sir.
And who was that?
Miss Stauch.
And when you're watching this on your computer, are you able to go back and watch it several times and make sure you got everything right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you also note when they come back out of the house and the truck is in the driveway, who gets in and who's where?
Yes, sir.
Who do you note? What do you note there?
I'd observed that Gannon stepped into the driver's side back seat, and Miss Stauch appeared to get into the driver's seat after she walked back inside and then came back out.
And do you have a time for that particular action?
Yes, that was at 10:13 a.m.
And do you have a time for when they actually leave?
That was at 10:15 a.m.
And does that coincide with this Petco trip that we talked about where she's seen at the Petco area and you search that shopping area?
Yes, sir.
Now, before we play People's Exhibit 42, what I'd like to do is have you summarize what we're about to see in People's Exhibit 42, okay? Can you do that?
Yes, sir. So in that exhibit, one of the other vehicles is leaving the house.
Well, is People's Exhibit 42 when they come back after they leave at 2:20 p.m. in the afternoon on January 27th?
Oh, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong disc. This is confusing me. Okay, yes, sorry. 42 is when they are seen returning back to the residence.
And so what do you see? What do you see on the video, and what did you note as you're watching it closely at your desk?
So I observed that the red Frontier returns, and it was initially hard to tell because she's seen stepping out of the vehicle, and then upon closer examination, it was seen that a shadow is seen in the footage of what appears to be Gannon stepping out of the vehicle as well.
And does that happen as soon as the driver's side door opens in the video?
Yes, sir.
This time we request to publish People's Exhibit 42.
You may.
Have you paused attention? Sorry. So we paused it at 2:35. Did you see the shadow you were talking about in this particular video clip?
It is hard to see from this distance.
Can you see it clearer in People's Exhibit 43?
Yes, sir.
Now, I probably should have asked you this before we played this, but where does this shadow come from?
I believe it is the back passenger seat. The door opens. If I could refresh my recollection.
Well, it's on the opposite side of the truck that we're seeing here in the rear
Yeah.
passenger side seat, right side of the truck.
Yes, sir.
And does it happen very quickly in the door?
Yes, sir.
We can go ahead and resume, please. That concludes People's Exhibit 42. It's 7 minutes and 26 seconds long. I want to talk to you about the end there. We see the black Tiguan right back out of the driveway, turn around, and back into the driveway. Do you recall seeing that?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell whether or not it backed all the way into the garage?
Based on the shadows underneath the Frontier, it appeared to back all the way into the garage.
And are you familiar with other surveillance video in this investigation from across the street, 6626 Mandan Drive?
No, sir.
You didn't watch that one?
I don't think so, no.
And at the end of People's Exhibit 42, we see some individuals, looks like they cross the street at the end of the road,
Yes, sir.
start walking up the sidewalk.
Yes, sir.
Is that soon after the Tiguan is backed into the garage?
Yes, sir.
And then we see a vehicle come by shortly after that?
Yes, sir.
And obviously, if there's other surveillance video across the street at 6626, they would pick up that same activity so you can coincide the two different videos. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We're going to play People's Exhibit 43 now, and I just want to give it some context. It's not going to be, excuse me, everything that we just saw in People's Exhibit 42. Tell us what we're going to see.
So 43 is going to be the kind of zoomed in on those shadows that I referenced previously of being able to see a shadow consistent with somebody stepping out of the Frontier.
Okay. That concludes People's Exhibit 43. It's 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Could you see it clearer in People's Exhibit 43, the leg drop on the other side of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And do you know whether or not the garage door was open or closed when they got back?
I do not.
Would it be able to show it if it was from 6626 Mandan Drive across the street, if the garage was open or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did you annotate in your report what time Ms. Stout moves the Tiguan to back it into the garage?
Yes. Yes, sir.
What time was that?
2:24 p.m.
And the next disc, People's Exhibit 46, is that approximately 3:11 p.m. when we see a school bus coming by that has Lena on it?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and publish People's Exhibit 46 now, please. Go ahead and pause it first. Okay, we paused it at 2:07 into the video. There appears to be a child by the red Nissan truck walking up the driveway. Do you know who that is?
It appeared to be Lena.
And is that consistent with her coming from the bus stop, which is around the corner?
Yes, sir.
There appears to be people working on some kind of electrical box out in the front yard of 6627.
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether or not those individuals were ever interviewed?
Detective Arndt was going to follow up with them. I'm not sure if they were interviewed.
Okay. But what do we see with Lena coming home from school? Does she have anything on her person?
It's hard to tell from here. I believe she had a backpack on her, though.
And is she able to go into the house when she comes home from school?
I believe she went in very briefly.
Can we work on the volume? Or not go up any higher? We're going to see if we can increase the volume, Judge, before you hit presume. All right. Could you hear Lena talking and saying things to the individuals out in the front yard and to someone at the house?
Yes, sir.
Good. Let's go ahead and resume it now, please. Yeah, way down there. Put it in wire. Oh, right. Fire. Reprise it, please. Who do we see are walking on the sidewalk?
Appears to be Lena.
And did you see where she came from?
It looked like she came from the area of the front door garage area of the house.
Did she come from the opposite side of the truck?
I did not see that part. I apologize.
Just to kind of give us some context, they get home at 2:20 p.m. What time was it when Miss Stout moved the Tiguan into the garage?
At 2:24.
And the school bus comes back at 3:11. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And this video is 19 minutes and 29 seconds long.
Yes, sir.
Is Lena outside for this entire 19 minutes and 29 seconds?
I'm unable to tell due to her being off camera.
What time would it be if we take from the time the Volkswagen backed into the garage up until the end of this 19, I guess it would be what, 3:30, something like that?
Approximately an hour.
And from you reviewing all this video, who are the two people inside the house for that hour?
Gannon and his mother, or his stepmother, sorry, the defendant.
We can resume, please. And is that Lena that we see walking by? That's at 9:06, right?
Everybody try to hook it up up there. Oh, I didn't get up there.
Pause it at 10:50. Your Honor, I think it might be a good idea for the jury to stretch out maybe or stand up or.
Okay, we can do that. Everybody do a 7th inning stretch. We're good to go. All right.
So before we hit resume and before the seventh inning stretch here, did you see where Lena went as she walked back towards the house?
Yeah, she appeared to go on the other side of the Nissan.
And would that be consistent with going through the garage door? In other words, when we saw her get off the bus and come home from school, she walked on this side of the Nissan to the front door, perhaps.
Yes, sir.
Is it also consistent with going to the garage door if she's on the other side of the truck?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can go ahead and resume, please.
Okay. Keep it hot.
Okay, that concludes People's Exhibit 46. We see, is that Lane on the bicycle riding away from her house?
Yes, sir.
Do we ever see her when she gets back to the house? Are we able to pick that up at all?
We do not.
So we don't know what time she got back into the house?
Correct.
And I'm going to publish People's Exhibit 47 in a minute, but before we do that, is People's Exhibit 47 essentially Harley getting home from work, Harley Hunt?
Yes, sir.
And is Harley Hunt in the house for a period of time?
Yes.
And then what happens after 10 or so minutes?
Harley and Lena both appear to leave in Harley's vehicle.
Yeah, if it's okay, what we may do is start it as to when Harley gets home and then fast forward to when they leave, because the rest of it's just the white Jetta sitting in front of the house, unless the court wants to watch the whole.
Is there an objection by the defense?
No.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll go ahead and publish People's Exhibit 47 now. So we paused it at 55 seconds. We saw a white vehicle pull up. Do you know whose vehicle that is?
It'd be Harley's VW Jetta, or Jetta, sorry.
And was that Harley who got out of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
She goes in, and then you said her and Lena come out later?
Yes, sir.
If we can just fast forward to about, I would say 11 minutes. Okay, go back just a little bit, but right there's good. So before you hit play, we're at 15:13 on the video, Your Honor. Go ahead, for play. Okay, that concludes People's Exhibit 47 at 16 minutes and 16 seconds. If you have Harley getting home at 4:37 p.m. on January 28, 2020, she's in the house for approximately 15 minutes. Would it be safe to say that at 4:52 p.m. is when her and Lena leave?
Yes, sir. I believe I have 451 annotated in my report.
I was close. Okay. Let's go to People's Exhibit 220 now. Now we're on January, that was January 27th. Okay, so January 27th at 4:37 p.m., Harley gets home.
Yes, sir.
4:51, they leave to go. Okay, now we're at the 28th, and I want to turn your attention to People's Exhibit 222. People's Exhibit 220, you're correct. We have two clips on this. Could you describe what the first clip is if you will?
The first one would be the defendant leaving for the airport in her vehicle, and the second clip was when she had Harley move her Jetta.
Hey guys,
and
give me
they
just
kind
a
of
second. I
rushed
gotta
the
do
positioning
something real
vehicles in the
quick.
driveway.
So would the first clip be at 8:13 a.m. or approximately that time frame?
I believe so.
And based on your understanding of the investigation, that's when she's going to the Colorado Springs Airport to pick up Al Stauch, her husband at the time.
Yes, sir.
You can go ahead and play clip one, please.
Can't wait. I'm trying to get that person off the internet and I can't seem to. We'll get back to the trial. There you go. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. There we go.
Now, we just finished clip one. It was, I want to say 50-something seconds. I didn't catch the time. The G1 leaves the driveway and it looks like it stopped at the end of the driveway. Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
Is that an issue with the tape, or did Ms. Stauch
I'm just
actually
making sure
stop
all
and
the
sit there?
a-holes are out of the chat
I do
on
not recall.
the side.
know?
Guys,
I'm not
thank
sure.
you for signing up
Let's go
for
ahead and play
Kick.
clip
I
two.
appreciate it. I love you guys. So let me get this back on so you guys can watch it. I'm back here. There you go. Take me off. There we go. All right, you guys should be back in business. Thank you for being patient with me today. Thank you for being patient. I'm watching on the phone because I can't see the chat from here, and I don't have RealStream set up on my cell phone, so it's going to cause problems. But we are watching this. At least I think we are. I don't know why it seems like it's frozen, but it shouldn't be. But who knows? We might be getting weak signal. I'm not sure. But it looks like everybody's just kind of frozen on this end. Has it been sticking? Let me ask you guys here in the chat real quick. Has this been sticking much? Let me turn the light on here. There I am. Turn this down just a tad, blinding me. Hey guys. So I know that we're having some technical difficulties. I can see it on the screen. I'm not liking it, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it. We're on, hotel internet, so it's kind of hit and miss. The other side, I don't know what's going on. I'm probably going to have to go back out and come back in to get it to boot. So just bear with me while I do that. But something's definitely going on with that situation right now. But I do have it up, so it won't take us very long to get it back. And hopefully it'll start working as it's supposed to. I probably should have thought about this a little bit better, but I've only got so much equipment I can use, and I'm at the mercy of these. Here we go. We're connecting to it now. There we go. Still no audio. The audio is still really checky, but people are at least moving now, but I don't hear them. So it's one of those things where I just don't think this internet here is good. I just don't think it's good. I'm sorry. But we'll get back to it. Hopefully it gets better. I can see I'm scrambled on the screen a little bit. And I apologize about that. I don't know what else to do. I think it might be the usage time, but I don't know. But I'm here. But it sucks. I see it looks like I'm painting. Like I can see all these weird colors in
2-3 minutes long.
Looks
Did
funny.
it appear to you that the Volkswagen Jetta went into the garage?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what time that took place in
All right, let's
relation
put this
to
back
the
up.
defendant leaving for the airport at 8:13 a.m.?
I do not.
Do you have that in your report?
I do not. No.
Can I retrieve that report, Your Honor?
To me, it seems like they intentionally paused this for some reason. I don't know if that's the case or not, but either way.
I can just have a second, Your Honor.
And if you want to know what happened this morning, the battery on the computer died.
Do you have your
That's why it dropped.
February 4th, 2020?
I do.
I'll turn your attention to the last page, which is 5 of 5. It's bait stamp 01426. Do you document when the Jetta pulls out of the driveway and then pulls back into the driveway and goes into the garage?
Yes, sir. That was at 8:51 a.m.
And when it pulls back in, is it 8:53 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination. Good afternoon, Detective. How are you?
Good afternoon. Doing all right.
All right. So you've been a detective with the sheriff's office for 9 years now?
Detective for about 3 years. Been employed for 9 years.
Oh, okay. And going back kind of to the beginning with this case, how many searches did you do of 6627 Mandan Drive?
I believe I participated in 2 of them.
Okay, and one would have been on the Tuesday and then one on Wednesday. Were they in back-to-back days?
I believe so.
Okay. And what time did you get there on Tuesday?
I would have to refresh my recollection by referencing my report.
You have that report up there?
I believe so.
Okay.
I arrived at the residence approximately 10 o'clock on the 28th. So I believe it was about that time when I,
Okay, 10 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock
10 o'clock p.m.
p.m.? Okay. And when you got there, who's there?
At that time, there was Detective Farrell, Detective Vigil, Detective Arndt. I had arrived with Detective Williams, Lena, and Harley were at the residence.
They were at the residence.
Yes, sir.
Now, ideally, if you're doing a search of a crime scene, best case scenario, you're there quickly after the crime occurred,
Yes, sir.
and then that crime scene would be secure.
Yes, sir.
Why would you want to secure? Why do you guys secure crime scenes generally?
For preservation of evidence.
Okay, because you don't want other people, civilians, whoever, going into that crime scene and either taking something out that should have been there or leaving something that shouldn't be there, correct?
Yes, sir.
And sometimes it can be even done unintentionally. I mean, you could leave trace evidence, fingerprints, DNA, hairs, that could corrupt a crime scene if it's not secure.
Yes, sir.
And so this obviously, based upon the information, the best case scenario, it's up to a day, if not more, past when you believe the crime occurred, when the house is searched, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you know how long? And so was Harley there before any detectives got there?
I do not know. I was not the first one there.
And do you know how Harley had unfettered access to the crime scene?
I do not.
She was the only, well, she's 17 at the time, but she's the closest thing to an adult civilian there when you guys get there.
Yes, sir.
It's just her and Lena.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you leave, Lena is taken from the crime scene, but Harley is left there, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so again, Harley has access to the crime scene after the search is done, and then before you guys do the search the next day.
While I was at the residence, I had described that I was performing scribe duties. So I was in the kitchen area and Harley remained in my immediate view the entire time.
I'm sorry, that was a bad question. But after you guys leave and before you guys come back to do the second search, she would have had unfettered access to the crime scene.
She left while we were at the residence. I do not know if she'd returned to the
Okay. So
address.
she may or may not have unfettered access to the crime scene.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Going to those videos that we were just watching, it appears that the truck gets back to the residence around 2:19. That I'm going back with the videos that we were just watching just now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that is at least what you can see. It appears that it's Ms. Stauch and Gannon getting out of the truck at that point in time and going into the residence.
Yes, sir.
And then about sometime after 3, we see the school bus, and it looks like Lena then goes into the house around 3:11, 3:10, 3:11.
It's a little bit after that, but yes, sir.
Okay. I also noticed on that video, it appears during the whole course of the day, there was a lot of utility workers on that street, right in front of the house, working on that transport. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And you never interviewed any of those utility workers?
Detective Arndt was going to be reaching out to them.
To the best of your knowledge, did any of those utility workers report hearing gunshots?
Not that I'm aware of.
Based from that video, if somebody's coming from the south, you can't really tell. I mean, somebody could come from the south and get into that house and be a detective, correct?
Potentially, yes.
Well, I mean, that's how, I mean, it appears Lena did that when she came back from her bike.
Yes, sir.
Because we see her leave on the bike, and you watched close to like 48 hours of that video, correct?
Yes, sir.
A lot of videos.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we see Lena leave on that bike. We never see her go back in the house from the bike trip.
Yes, sir.
And then we see her leave the house with Harley to get in the car, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it appears that somehow Lena was able to access and get inside the house that was not captured on that video, correct?
Yes, sir.
In some portion of that video, especially during the day, that's actually appears or sounds like you get some pretty decent sound quality.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you can actually hear Lena talking with the utility worker there.
Yes, sir.
And that doesn't feel like they're yelling. It kind of appears like they're just talking.
Yes, sir.
You never heard any gunshots in the 48 hours of video that you reviewed.
Not that I recall, sir.
And then lastly, that the next morning, for some reason, it doesn't appear to be sound on the video. Do you know why?
I do not.
Do you know why sometimes there's sound on the video and sometimes there's not?
I do not.
Okay. No further questions.
Redirect.
Yes, sir. In an ideal situation, you'd like to show up to a crime scene right after the crime happens, correct?
Yes, sir.
And one of the reasons you want to do that is because you don't want whoever committed a crime to clean up that crime scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, who was controlling when police came to the house on January 27th, 2020?
Mr. and Miss Stauch.
The reason why the sheriff's office got involved at all is because Miss Stauch called 911, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she called 911 shortly after 6 p.m. that evening.
Yes, sir.
Police arrived shortly after 10 p.m. that evening.
I think initial responders had arrived earlier. The detectives did not arrive until later.
But you can see when you're looking at the video on 6643 when the sheriff deputies showed up, right? It was after 10 p.m. that night.
I believe so.
And the jury's already seen the body-worn camera of Deputy Yumpkin and the audio of Deputy Parker.
Objection, another question.
Yeah, sustained.
I'm
Hold on.
I agree.
Jury. That's good, because I'm going to tell the jury that they will disregard counsel's comments. As we know, nothing that the attorneys say at any point in time is evidence. Mr. Young, if you have a question.
So you were able to see when the deputies arrived on January 27th, 2020
Yes, sir.
for the first time,
Yes, sir.
and that was after 10 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Now, based on your investigations and your career as a deputy in the sheriff's office, have you been called out to gunshot, those type of scenes?
Yes, sir.
And have you done neighborhood canvasses where there's been gunshots alleged to be fired?
Yes, sir.
And have you talked to neighbors who have both heard gunshots?
Yes, sir.
Have you talked to neighbors who did not hear gunshots?
Yes, sir.
Is there ways to muffle the gunshot?
Yes, sir.
Is it surprising to you that no one heard a gunshot when Gannon was killed?
Objection, Your Holiness.
Overruled.
No, sir.
Did you even know that Gannon had been shot until after March of 2020 when his body was discovered?
I did not.
Did you even know to ask anyone if they heard gunshots?
I did not.
That's my question, John.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Detective Perry? No. All right. Thank you, Detective. You may step down. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our afternoon recess. If I can have everyone back in the jury room at, say, 3:05, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. With that, all rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Court will be in recess until 3:05.
All right, so let me put that up there. I'm kind of grainy, and that's okay. Hopefully they are not. Theirs feed was coming in good for me, but I can tell there's a delay in my voice and speech pattern. It's kind of hazy over my, every time I move, I look like I'm painting, at least on my end. So I know it's probably going to be frustrating for you guys. So I really do appreciate all that are here watching this. I'm sorry we had so many technical issues in the morning. I usually don't have this level of technical issues running lives, but we didn't really have a lot of technical issues this morning. It's just later in the day, you know, when I've been using the Wi-Fi from the hotel. I think after a while it starts lagging or throttling the service. I don't know if that's true or not. But that's, I think, what could perhaps be going on. So many of you guys are probably wondering what in the heck we were doing all day today, right? Like this has been going on for several hours. We've been gone. We've been trying to stay in the chat a little bit. I apologize for the people over in Kick that had to deal with the trolls over there. Again, I don't know. You can make an adult act like an adult. That kind of behavior, I would be highly embarrassed to be doing. And it doesn't matter whether people know you're doing it or not. It just matters like integrity wise, like your character sucks, where you have to follow me to harass me no matter where I go. If you think I have to put up with this, you are surely wrong. So, you know, game on, baby. Game on. I'll find out who you are. And when I do, don't be crying because you're owed a payday as well. So, and don't think you're not going to be found. You will be found. Yeah. And I do believe it's a few that same name, but I believe the one that's moving around from one place to one place is really a butthurt person. And it feels a little more personal to me. And I'm starting to feel like it's somebody that actually lives in my community that's doing it. So if it is her, if it's Peggy Todd, you better knock it off. Because if you don't think that I will press charges against you, you are crazy. And if it's not, we will find out who you are. I mean, we've been finding out a lot of information. There's a reason why we're finding out that information. I'm just saying. So, you know, I really just don't want to fight with people anymore. I just want to do my thing. Just leave me alone. Move on with your life. Get over yourself. You're not that special, and neither am I. So why are you acting like I'm so special that you have to track me down and follow me everywhere I go? What makes me so special in your world? Why are you so obsessed with me? Are you jealous because I have a backbone and don't take crap? I mean, what is it with you? Why do you think I am so special? I put my pants on one leg at a time too. Why do you think I am so special in your world? Why do you let me rent all that space up in your head? Oh, it's, you know who it is. It's Cousin Eddie, Uncle Eddie. It's Uncle Eddie, Cousin Eddie, whatever it is, right? So when we deem Cousin Eddie, I just don't have time for it. Like I have a life. I've got things I'm doing. I'm doing an investigation. By the way, you know, I know that the stream's coming in crappy, but hopefully the audio is still pretty darn good. I don't know. But this stuff, oh, hey, Hellcat, I haven't seen you. Nice to see you, Love Bug. So I've been out tracking down all the kids. Remember, I told you I had a list of all the Peep House the day that Trent, Learhart, March 21st, when he went to the hospital and was in life-threatening condition. He's not doing well. He was barely breathing 6 breaths a minute, which is no oxygen whatsoever. You know, we have to think that how many people actually know how long he was breathing like that before they actually took him to the hospital, before they took it seriously enough to get him to the hospital. But the lifestyle of these kids here is very privileged. There was only one person on my list where the parents lived in an apartment. All these other kids have huge, big, fancy houses. Parents own these elite businesses. One that's been around since the 1930s, which we know as J.C. Struther Hardware. But these kids come from money here. You know, we're as a public asking, why is things not happening? Why all these days later, when they've had pictures, they know exactly who's been in that house, why are they not making any arrests? And they keep telling the public, We just want to make sure we have a thorough and complete investigation, right? That's what they're telling their audience. Thorough and complete investigation. Well, I can tell you, my experience tells me you already have a good handle on everything. So what links do you need? What links do you need? You have all witness testimony. You know the condition of this boy. There was underage drinking inside a home owned by the Struthers. If you have information that says that either one of those parents were home at the time of this incident, they should be in jail. That's a crime. That's contributing to the delinquency of a minor. There's no excuse why that person should not be in jail if they were home at the time. There's one arrest right there. You don't need a whole lot of evidence to support that factor. All you need to know is what time they came home. Look at that, the digital evidence. Look at the videos. You should already have those in your possession. You know exactly when those parents got home, and if they were home at the time that this happened, why are they not in jail? Is it because of who they are? Yeah, I know my internet sucks. I can see it. I never seen you. So nice to meet you. Never see you here. So nice to meet you. Who? Oh, Hellcat. Hellcat's been around for a while. So anyways, guys, I know the internet's still going to suck. I'm going to try to refresh. Actually, while we're taking the break, let me go ahead and try to refresh and see if I can get a little bit of new blood refreshing in here. Maybe that might actually help. We'll see. All right. Well, my lips are still, I don't have the haze, but I'm freezing. I'm still sticking. I'm still sticking. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, I got to sneeze. Oh, Lordy. That was 4. I never have 4 in a row. My word. When I was younger, it was only 2. And then when I got about, I don't know, 40, it started becoming 3. Now I'm back to hazy again. So that it is what it is. That's all I can do for now. And we have been running for literally hours on here. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, you guys are so sweet. You guys are so sweet. But we did roll around town. We kind of stayed under the radar. I did get my videos. I got my videos in front of every single one of their homes. I got my video in front of every single one of the places that their parents work and own. You know, I even captured about, I don't know, 30 minutes of driving in these neighborhoods with these freaking huge houses. Like, these kids have no idea what it's like to struggle. Their parents have given them everything. And that's what's wrong, I think, sometimes with, you know, parents for money. If you have money, it doesn't mean your children should just be given everything. We had to pull weeds in the yard. We had to, you know, mop the floor. I mean, I wasn't the best at making the bed or cleaning up the room. More stuff went under the bed than like in the drawers. My mom would go weeks and say, I haven't seen something. Like she wouldn't see a shirt or something. And she's like, I know she wore it. I remember seeing her wear it. Why haven't I washed it? Why haven't I folded it? And she'll go in the room and start snooping, you know, like good mothers do, and lifting up the ruffles of the you know, around the bed. And she'd pull out about a basket and a half of dirty laundry. Oh, gotta love moms. Gotta love moms. They need to leave her alone. This is getting real time. What? Who? What's going on here? God bless you. God bless you. That must have been when I sneezed. God bless you. How about the new rules starting tomorrow? I have above. I don't know about no new rules starting tomorrow, but I'm sure if it's on social media, then it'll definitely, and anything above was just wiped out when I reset this screen, which didn't do anything to help, but all the other messages have been wiped out, so I can't even see them. What's the other stuff? They don't get to decide who has a YouTube channel. They need to leave her alone. This is getting real time. Oh, gotcha, sepsis. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If somebody can enlighten me, that would be great. If one of you guys have my text message or something like that, maybe enlighten me in Messenger or something like that. I don't know. More as me getting, oh, don't worry about it. It's getting annoying. Yeah, I know it's getting annoying for everybody. They're making it's making it unfun for everybody, but that's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to capitalize and steal, try to boot people out so they can capitalize on a certain niche. And there's plenty of people out there. It's just the reason why people aren't going to their channels is because they suck. That's why they're not getting the views. That's why now they're not getting the subs and the members, is because they suck. It doesn't matter whether I'm on here or not. At the end of the day, even if I left tomorrow, you'd still suck. You'd still have horrible information. You'd still only be regurgitating everything you hear because you're too lazy to go out and find the information for yourself or be in person to get to it. Betty needs to see, because all the info is there, then YouTube are coming after those so-called tragedy. Well, they can have their thing. They're not coming after. They don't. Do you think YouTube calls this sector of YouTube tragedy pimps? No, there's only idiots that call it the tragedy pimps, and they are the real tragedy pimps because all they do is peddle tragedies to pimp out. Right? The last year, I've been the tragedy. So yeah, the death of children covering news is not tragedy pimping, because if that was the case, then why aren't they calling ABC News? Why are they calling Bullhorn Betty? Why aren't they calling Lifetime? Why aren't they calling A&E? You know, so they make absolutely no sense. When you peel back the onion, none of this makes sense. They're just a bunch of thugs that think that they can bully their way to anybody. They are the bullies, and they are literally trying to convince you it's everybody else. It's the most insane thing I have ever seen in my life. Literally the most insane. And no, I'm not going over to Queen Bees. And secondly, I don't like people, no offense, Sassy, but I don't like people putting people's names that I don't condone, that absolutely do not represent my morals or anything. I absolutely think that they're the worst of the worst on here. And you're going to come into a chat and name drop them. And I don't support them, nor do I want their names in my chat. So if you're going to be here, I'm going to ask you to respect the rules of this chat. And we don't talk about other creators. If I talk about them, that's my business. This is my channel. But I don't like people throwing stuff up. My audience knows exactly who we're allowed to talk about in my chat. Anything over and above that, it's disrespectful. And if that's what it's intended to be, then you don't need to be here. And I shouldn't have to block you for you to be an adult. If this is not the place for you, leave. Not sounding like a person that really gives a rat's ass about, subscriptions, right? You get it? Everything they told you about me is a lie? You've been suckered and bamboozled by people that don't even know me? They don't even have a college education, that are trying to tell you facts? Great job. I keep wondering who's the real idiot. Is it the people that listen to the crap or the people that are dishing the crap? To me, it's sometimes the people that are listening to it are the biggest ones. Because who believes that? Like, literally. Well, if they're going after them, that right there is a violation of terms and service that they've been screaming at, that we're all doing, right? They can keep coming after me all they want. I don't break the rules. Little girl has been trying to get her 5 videos down for the last 2 weeks, right? Coming up with every single thing imaginable as to not have a public record. You know how you don't have a public record? Don't get yourself arrested. I even have a public record. Get over it. If I have to go through it, why can't you? You sure supported every single person that has been nasty to people for no reason. There is nothing I have done. There's nothing Dolly has done. There's nothing any of us have done to these people to deserve what we have gone through for the last 2 years. Nothing. I haven't talked to them. I haven't cussed at them. I haven't spoken to them. I don't even freaking know them. As far as they're loony to me because of their actions. Like literally, I feel that they're lunatics. Like literally got major brain problems. And I can't help to shake that feeling because who acts like this? I mean, seriously. Remember the saying, I don't play nice, but I play legal. And I don't, at the end of the day, my only requirement in this country is to follow the law, which I do well. If my following the law causes you some grief, that's not my problem. It's your problem. If you don't like it, go change the laws. That would require you getting off your butt and actually going to a meeting, by the way, which we know a lot of you lazy people don't even want to take showers or put your teeth in. So, I can't help you there. Sassy as a turtle. I seen her there. Okay, well, it wasn't no disrespect. And if she's been over here, she knows that I'm under immense pressure. But honestly, I'm a little different than Dolly. I don't plug my haters ever. We come up with names for them, great names, like wannabe drug thug, cabbage, cookie crumb, kitty, baby gap. There's a lot. We talk about these people, here and there, but we don't use their name and we do not plug them on our channel. The great thing is they have to plug me all the time because that's the only way they're getting views. So if Bullhorn Betty is not plugged, then they're not plugged. All right, guys, we're getting back. Hopefully the audio and visual work on this. I'm sorry that we're having difficulties, but it's going to be like this for the next 3 days. I might take you guys with me tomorrow and just run you guys on the hotspot from the car with electrical, It might work a lot better, might have a clearer image, but the shit here at this hotel ain't working. That's all I know. All right, guys. Oh, let me check. All right, good. We're good. I was just checking to make sure I wasn't on the screen, in case I decided to start doing the funky chicken back here. I want to make sure you guys don't see me doing the funky chicken. Oh, thank you, Jules. That was sweet. Thank you, Love Bug. That was really sweet. I guess we're waiting for the jury. I have to tell you, I had a great time with Karen today, except she left her purse. So we had to go find her purse. That's why when I got this live up, I had to leave again because we were on the hunt. But I already knew where she had to have left it. We only made 2 stops, so it made it pretty easy. And I remember her leaving the first stop with it, so I knew it had to be the second stop. So that's the one I asked her to call first, and sure enough, it was there. And it was, thank God for good people because, somebody could definitely taken her cash, her credit cards, and everything was left untouched and turned in appropriately. So that was nice.
Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
We would call Detective Tim Farrell to the stand.
Detective Farrell, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name, introduce yourself to the jury, and spell your last for the record?
Detective Timothy Farrell. That's Ferrell. I'm a detective with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the sheriff's office?
10 years.
And how long have you been a detective?
3.
Back in January of 2020, what were your assigned roles for the sheriff's office?
I was assigned to the Special Victims Unit within the Investigations Division.
Were you asked to assist in the investigation in the disappearance of Gannon Stauch?
I was.
And back on January 28th of 2020, was one of your duties or assignments to go out and search 6627 Mandan Drive here in Colorado Springs, Colorado?
Yes, it was.
And why were you going out to search that residence?
Initially, the call came in as a missing juvenile endangered, which is why it got referred to investigation. So we went out to try to figure out where the child had gone, whether we could find any evidence, whether they ran away, whatever the case might be. So we're just trying to figure out what exactly happened to see whether we were able to gather any evidence.
Did you have any idea what you were looking for when you went out there?
Not at that point, no.
About what time did you get out there on the 28th? Do you recall?
The house, I believe it was around 10 p.m.
Okay. Who was there when you got there? Do you remember?
Besides the other detectives, I believe Harley was the only other person on scene at that time.
Did you know whether or not Lena, the 8-year-old child, had already been taken to go be interviewed?
I'm not sure on that now.
As you're out there on the 28th, you said around 10 p.m., were you getting information from the police department, the sheriff's office, as to the investigation, as to items you may want to look for, things like that?
Yes, through the sergeant.
Were people being interviewed at the sheriff's office and giving information and relaying it back to you as to what you should be looking for?
Yes, they were.
So what did you know prior to going into the residence at 6627?
I knew that patrol had been called in the day prior for a runaway. They had not found any evidence as far as had not found the child on scene, hadn't been able to locate him. And beyond that, there wasn't a whole lot of information when we got there. Once we arrived on the scene, the information was pretty sporadic at that point. We didn't have a whole lot to go on.
So what was the game plan? What'd you do when you got there?
Basically, we went in, took photographs of the entire scene. One of the other detectives took those. And then we basically just went through looking for something or anything out of the ordinary or something that might help point us toward where you might have went or what had happened.
And did you and your fellow detectives search the entire house, every room in the house?
Yes, we did.
Did you find any loose shell casings that looked like they had been expended from a gun?
I did not know.
Would that be something that would be unusual or suspicious if you found a shell casing on a floor somewhere?
Yes, it would.
Did you see any blood in that house?
Not visually, no.
Would that again be something that would be suspicious? Draw your attention to that.
Yes, it would.
You said you went through and you took photographs within the house. Did you take photographs of the exterior and the interior of the house?
I believe so. It was another detective that took the photographs.
Would you recognize those photographs if you saw them again?
Yes, I would.
In front of you to your right are a stack of photographs. If you could take a look at those, and for the record, those would be People's Exhibit 240, 241, 242 through 245, 247, 248, 250, 251, and we'll stop at 251 when you get there. Have you had a chance to look at those pictures?
I have.
And what are those pictures of?
That's the inside of the residence. Appears to be mostly of the laundry room area.
And are there pictures of some Nike shoes that are on a washing machine?
Yes, there are.
And do all those pictures, I'll be specific for the record, People's Exhibit 240 through 245, 247, 248, 250, and 251, do they all depict the laundry room at 6627 Mandan Drive as it looked like on the night of January 28th, 2020?
Yes, it does.
And are we moved to admit those particular exhibits?
Defense?
Objection.
Exhibits 240 through 245, 247, 248, 250, and 251 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Request to publish 240.
Go ahead.
What do we see in People's Exhibit 240 here on the TV screens?
This is the entrance from the garage into the laundry room.
And could you, we got a stick pointer up there. See that anywhere? Can you just kind of point out some things that I asked you about? For instance, can you point out the entry to the garage in this photograph? This one. And do you see a dryer or a washer there on the right? And does there appear to be a shoe rack there on the left?
Yes, it does. Right.
And this is what it looked like when you got there on the 28th?
Yes, it does.
We can go to 241, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 241?
That's the washer and dryer in the laundry room.
And do you know which one is the washer and which one's the dryer?
I believe the one on the left is the washer.
And Detective Farrell, I'm going to have to ask you to speak up loudly because when you're facing the TV, voice is going that way. So let's go to People's Exhibit 242 at this time. What do we see in People's Exhibit 242?
Large mound of clothing on top of the washer and the dryer.
And is that what it looked like when you initially got to the residence?
Yes, it does.
And did you do anything to look through this clothing?
Myself personally, no.
Did anybody do that?
Detective John Price did.
And were you there when he was doing that?
I was not there when he was initially looking through it, but he called me up once he was looking through that.
And why did he call you up? Do you know?
He found a pair of shoes with that seemed out of place to him with a pink residue on the bottom of the soles.
We go to 243, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 243?
A little bit closer shot over top of the washer.
244? What do we see in 244?
These are the shoes that Detective Price pointed out to me.
And is that what they looked like when you got into the line room?
Yes.
And you talked about some kind of, did you say pink substance on the bottom of these shoes?
Correct.
What did you think that substance was?
There was suspicion that it was possibly blood and had been attempted been washed, but had soaked into the sole of the shoe.
Why did you have a suspicion of that?
Just based on our experience and the time that we've seen blood-soaked clothing, it just seemed out of place. It seemed very strange to us at that point.
So is this one of the instances that we were talking about when you started out, that you didn't necessarily know what you were looking for, but if you saw something out of the ordinary, you're going to make note of it?
Yes.
And so what did you do upon seeing these shoes?
We photographed those, and then I also took swabs of the bottom of both of the shoes.
And in this particular shoe, which shoe is which?
This is the left foot, and that would be the right foot.
Could you point out on the right foot any areas of discoloration?
Right up through here. This picture is a little hard to see, but basically under the indentations of the pattern of the sole, there was the pink residue.
If we can go to People's Exhibit 245, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 245?
This is where it soaked into the foam on the shoe and gave that discoloration all throughout.
And just so the record's clear, you're using a pointer to point out like in the middle of the shoe where there's a crease, you're saying there's some discoloration there. Right. Is that the area that you swab in regards to the right bottom of the shoe?
Correct. Right up in this area here.
And if you would resume your seat, there's a brown envelope marked 246. I believe it's going to be on your right-hand side. You see that?
I just read, Sassy,
246. Okay.
the new rules. Those are not new rules. Those have been the rules.
States it's
That's
one
why I
package
say I
of
don't
two
engage in
swabs
mass
for
flagging
women's black and white
campaigns because they're absolutely worthless.
And is
So
that the swab
I
you
did
took
read
from
'em.
this?
But I'm glad now the hate
Yes,
channels realize all that work they've been doing has been all for nothing,
Because
just like I
placed it
said.
into this envelope, and it was later taken to evidence, and then input
Just
put into
like I
evidence
said.
by, Detective Perry.
Do you need to open that up to know that that's what's in that envelope?
No.
At this time, I'd move to admit People's Exhibit 246.
Defense. Exhibit 246 will be admitted. Go ahead.
We can now publish 247, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 247?
This appears to be the other shoe, and also has the pink residue and various indentations on the shoe.
In 248? What do we see in 248?
This is the heel of the shoe, and again, there's more pink residue in all of the low areas and indentations of the shoe.
And did you swab those areas with regards to this shoe as well?
Correct.
And now we're talking about the bottom of the left shoe.
Yes.
And if there's another brown envelope, hopefully it's still there, 249.
Correct.
See that?
Yes, sir.
What is People's Exhibit 249?
It states it's one package of 2 swabs for women's black and white Nike shoes.
And are those the swabs you took from the shoes we just looked at?
Yes.
And you need to open that envelope to see that those are the swabs.
No.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 249.
Mr. Cook,
Objection.
Exhibit 249 will be admitted. Go ahead.
We can go to 250 now, please. What do we see in People's Exhibit 250?
This was a pink towel that was in the washer next to or underneath where the shoes were at.
And was that the only thing that was in the washer at the time?
Yes, it was.
We can go to 251, please. What do we see in 251?
And this is the pink towel that was inside of the washer.
Do you notice any red discoloration on that towel or anything suspicious with regards to that towel?
Me personally, no, I did not.
Are you just annotating that there's one towel in the washer and you're taking a picture of it?
Correct.
Now I'd like you to look at the next series of photographs that are in front of you. They haven't been admitted yet. They're going to be in front of you. There's 252 through 258, and then 260 and 261. Have you had a chance to look at those photographs?
Yes, I have.
And what are those photographs of?
Those photographs are the beginning of those are in the family room in the basement, which is an area of the carpet that had been cut out. There's also appeared to be burn marks on the couch. The other photographs are of the trash cans, which are in the backyard of the residence.
And what about 260 and 261? Are those close-ups of the trash cans?
Yes, they are.
And do all those photographs accurately depict the items you said they depict from January 28, 2020, from 6627 basement area and then the outside area where the trash cans are?
Yes, they do.
Move to admit People's Exhibits 252 through 258, 260, and 261.
Mr. Cook. Exhibits 258 252 through 258 and 260 and 261 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. We're going to publish 252 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 252?
This is the couch downstairs in the family room. there was actually some carpet that was covering us up. And when we moved it, because it wasn't actually tacked down or anything, this is what we found, that it appeared to be an area that had burnt through. The carpet had been cut out, and then this is the padding under the carpet that appeared to have been melted down to the concrete, which is what the white part is here. The areas over here on the couch appeared to have melted through the couch liner cover and appeared to possibly be a waxy substance that was left on there.
And prior to going to the residence on January 28th, 2020, did you have any information about a candle being fallen over and causing a fire?
Initial information from the sergeant on scene, that information had been passed over or passed to him from the office, that there had possibly been a fire in the basement caused by a candle.
Is that why you're documenting, taking photos of this area?
Yes, it is.
And did you bring that dog with you?
No.
Did you tell him to pose there or something, or just
No,
happenstance?
he was photogenic that day.
Okay.
The
People's
slight
Exhibit
humor in
253.
the courtroom.
Who was saying
How
people exhibit
cute.
253?
This is the couch, and this is the waxy substance that we noticed on the couch. These are holes within the fabric on the couch itself, as well as down through here with that wax substance as well.
254? What do we see in 254?
So this is approximately a 2 foot by 2 foot square of the carpet that was cut out. This is the padding underneath that carpet that had appeared to be either burned or melted through, and this is the bare concrete on the floor, and this appears to be a section that was burned.
And when you're there on the 28th, can you smell anything?
No, I could not.
Did it smell like this fire had been recent, or you noted that in your report?
I didn't smell anything at that point.
And based on what you're seeing here, was it consistent with a candle falling over and burning right through the carpet, through the pad, and to the concrete?
Based on what I saw there, yes.
And did you make efforts to find, for instance, this piece of carpet that had been burned?
Yes, we did.
So we can go to People's Exhibit 255 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 255?
These are trash cans that were in the backyard on the side of the house.
And so, just for the jury's benefit, would it have been on the which side direction-wise, north, south, east, west?
Trying to remember, I believe it would be east, but it's been a while since I've been out there.
We can go to People's Exhibit 256. What do we see in People's Exhibit 256?
This is a trash bag that was on top of one of the trash cans, and on the top of it, when we first opened it, this appears to be melted part of the carpet and the padding that was also taken out from underneath.
And so, would this be in the backyard of that residence?
Yes.
Is it fenced in completely?
Yes, it is, with a 6 foot privacy fence.
And was there a gate with a padlock on it just on the other side of this?
Yes, there was.
So we can go to People's Exhibit 257. What do we see in 257?
This is a approximately 2 foot by 2 foot square of carpet that was pulled from that trash can. And on that carpet, this was a burned area with what I believe to be possibly a wax substance. This is actually a hole burnt through the carpet itself.
And 258? What do we see in People's Exhibit 258?
Same piece of carpet, just a little bit closer up shot. This is the hole that was burned through the carpet, and then there's more red substance that appeared to be part of the wax or whatever substance had melted onto the carpet.
You know, maybe approach a witness.
You may.
And hand you what's been marked as 259.
The video feed is
Recognize 259.
shaky a little bit.
Yes, I
Sorry
do.
about that.
What is People's Exhibit 259?
This is the piece of carpet that's pictured in that photograph.
And does it actually, does it look like as it did when we packaged it back on January 28th, 2020?
Yes, it does.
To admit People's Exhibit 259.
Mr. Cook, Exhibit 259 will be admitted.
Request that Detective Farrell publish that for the jury so the jury can see. You wouldn't mind just standing out here and just holding it up so the jury can see what we're talking about?
Sorry.
You don't want to. Yeah, I just want to these guys. Can we publish People's Exhibit 260 now, please? What do we see in People's Exhibit 260?
Hold on, you've already, 260 was the photograph.
260 and 261, I believe, are in. I admitted those. Okay.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yep. So what do we see in People's Exhibit 260?
This is the second trash can, and in this trash can is a candle that was on top of the trash can.
In People's Exhibit 261?
That's the candle that we pulled out of that trash can.
And was there anything inside the candle when you pulled it out?
Right inside of here, it appeared to be some sort of fabric. Unsure of what it was, as it didn't appear to match the carpet or the couch.
And there's a brown paper bag in front of you that's labeled People's Exhibit 262. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
What is that?
that's the candle.
You need gloves to open it.
If I was to open it, yes.
Doesn't sound like you want to open it.
Not particularly.
Okay. Let me ask you this: Is what's in 262 the same thing we need to see in the photograph? 264.
Yes, it is.
Do you need to open that to know that it's in the same general condition, or is it still sealed? Is it less than that?
It's still sealed.
We would move to admit People's Exhibit 262 at this time.
Mr. Cook? No objection. Exhibit 262 will be admitted.
Why don't we go ahead and open it? I'll get you some gloves. Okay, there's a box right there. Might get a brochure just.
That's fine.
Go ahead and open them up. Okay, for the record, you pulled out an item from that exhibit, and what is that?
This is the candle that was in the photograph.
Let's hold that up high so they. Looking inside the candle, is that cloth material still in there?
Yes, it is.
You know what that is by looking at it now?
It looks like it possibly might be a sock.
Go ahead and repackage that the best you can, and then I'll help you out with it.
You may.
Did you also go into Gannon's bedroom to do a search?
Yes, I did.
And what did you note when you went into Gannon's bedroom, if anything?
The bedroom seemed to be very clean. There was not a whole lot out of place that I noticed in the bedroom. The only thing of note that I noticed at that point was on the inside handle of the bedroom door, there was a brown smear on the handle.
Could you smell anything when you went into Gannon's room?
Myself, no.
And what do you say yourself? Did someone else smell something?
Detective Vigil, Peter Vigil, smelled and told me.
Sustained.
Detective Vigil is going to be up next, okay? We'll cover that with him. In front of you, there's some photographs, 263 through 270. Can you take a look at those? You had a chance to do that?
Yes, I have.
And what are People's Exhibit 263 through 27?
These are pictures of Gannon's bedroom.
And do they accurately depict Gannon's bedroom as it looked back on January 28, 2020?
Yes, it does.
Move to admit 263 through 270.
Mr. Cook? Exhibits 263 to 270 will be admitted.
Request to publish 263.
You may go ahead.
What do we see in People's Exhibit 263?
So this is the far left corner of the bedroom, and this is the bed that was in there that was, we believe to be Gannon's bed.
And this photograph would have been taken on January 28, 2020.
Yes, it was.
About 264. What do we see here?
This is the mattress from Gannon's bed, with the blankets and sheets taken off of it.
And why did you take the blankets and sheets off the bed?
Based on one of the other detectives took it off just to see if there was anything of note on the mattress itself.
265. What do we see on 265?
There's a discoloration on the far back left corner of the mattress here. We were unsure of what it was at that point.
And were you again receiving information from the sheriff's office as to what people were saying about Gannon and being interviewed?
Correct. We had received some information that he did have issues with sometimes having accidents using the restroom in the bed.
Now, as you're going through the house on January 28th and you're in Gannon's bedroom and you see this red substance on his mattress, do you have any idea of what had happened to Gannon at that point?
Not at that point, no.
You can go to People's Exhibit 264 or 266, I'm sorry. What do we see in 266?
This is the edge of the mattress with it just flipped up. This is what we saw in the prior picture, and then this is the side of it that faced toward the wall.
So that side of it would have been on the wall where we see the plug back in the background?
That is correct.
Go to 267. What do we see on 267?
Here we noticed there was some sort of spot here that we weren't sure what it was, but we decided to photograph it.
268? Got a close-up of what we saw in 267?
Yes, it is.
And someone's using a ruler to demonstrate?
Yes, it is.
269? What do we see in 269?
So this is the inside of Gannon's door. When we got there, the door was actually open all the way to the wall. When I looked behind the door and opened it to see if there was anything back here, I noticed this brown smear on the handle right here.
270. What do we see in 270?
This again is the door handle with the brown smear right here.
Now, by the time you're in Gannon's bedroom on the 28th, had you received any information as to the version of events the defendant was giving as to what took place in this house?
From what I understood, I wasn't given everything. Most of that was going through the sergeants. We had a lot of moving pieces. But from what I understood is we were starting to get some conflicting stories about what had happened.
When you started your search, did you start your search as looking for a kid who may be a runaway or missing versus something else by the time you ended your search?
Yes, we did.
In front of you, you have some more photographs. We have 271 through 272. Do you see those?
I think you misspoke. You only referenced two.
Yeah, just 271, 272. We're going to get to the other ones in a sec.
Oh, he was just looking through a lot of photographs, so okay.
Yes, I do.
Do you have 271 and 272?
I do.
What are those photographs of?
These are photographs of firearms that I located in the master bedroom closet.
And why did you document those photographs?
Just because something seemed off. We couldn't put a finger on what was wrong or what we were seeing exactly, but something seemed off. So anytime we run across firearms and we don't know what's going on, we generally try to document them.
And do those photos accurately depict those firearms as you saw them on January 28, 2020?
Yes, they do.
Move to admit 271 and 272.
Mr. Cook? 271 and 272 will be admitted.
Press the publish 271, please.
May, go ahead.
So where was this gun that we see in 271 located?
I believe this one, I don't remember exactly whether it was under the bed or in the closet on this one. In the master bedroom, though.
And what kind of gun is that, you know?
That's a shotgun.
And 272? What do we see in 272?
This is a shotgun as well, and this is an AR style.
Please don't tell me
rifle,
she used one of those.
or
Holy
AR pistol,
crap.
actually.
And where were these guns located?
These were located in the master bedroom closet.
And did you find any handguns in that residence on the 28th?
I did not.
We could take that down, thanks. And now I want to turn your attention to January 29th of 2020. Were you at the sheriff's office when the defendant, Ms. Stauch, was supposed to come down and be interviewed?
Yes, I was.
And were you there when in fact she did show up?
Yes, I was.
You have an opportunity to go out and see what vehicle she came to the sheriff's office in.
Yes, I did. I went out to the parking garage and located her vehicle on the first floor of the parking garage.
And what kind of vehicle was that?
That is a Volkswagen Tiguan SUV.
And did you notice anything unusual about the vehicle when you located it?
When we located it, the vehicle was actually still dripping water off of it, like it had just been washed. There was no rain. It was completely dry outside. So that struck us as very odd.
And why was that odd?
We've been trying, from what I understand, the other detectives have been trying to get her to come in for an interview for quite some time. And then when she showed up with a vehicle, it's freshly washed.
And did you photograph that vehicle?
I did not, another detective did.
Were you there when it was photographed, and would you recognize those photographs that you saw?
Yes, I was.
I'll have you take a look at People's Exhibit 273 through 276. Have you had a chance to do that?
Yes, I have.
And what are those photographs of?
These are the photographs of the vehicle that I found that Ms. Stauch drove to the office.
And do they actually depict the car as you saw it back then with water on it and parked in the garage?
Yes, it does.
Move to admit 273 through 276.
Mr. Cook,
No objection.
exhibits 273 through 276 will be admitted. Go ahead.
We'll publish 273, please. Can you kind of point out in Exhibit 273 with your pointer what we see here?
This is the vehicle. It's parked nose first into the parking space. And you can notice on, kind of hard on this one, but you can notice the water spots in several areas as well as water that was dripping down off the vehicle in several areas. It had only been there for less than 5 minutes. But
Now, when you went and saw this vehicle for the first time, did you have a camera on you?
I believe the other detective had to go back in and get a camera.
So it took some time to get the camera and come back out before we actually took the photos.
Yes.
We can go to 274 now. What do we see in 274?
This is the hood of the vehicle with water drops still all over the top of it.
In 275?
This is the top of the vehicle that as the vehicle dried, I noticed the top was still covered in dirt and dust.
Was it apparent that whoever washed the vehicle didn't wash the top part of the vehicle?
That's correct.
Did you notice that right away when you saw the vehicle?
Once it started to dry, yes.
In 276? What do we see in 276?
This is just a picture taken from the back to include all the dirt and dust that was on top of the vehicle.
Now, were you able to get inside that vehicle right away?
We did not know.
You have to get a search warrant to eventually get in and search it.
Yes, we did.
Did you search that or someone else searched it?
I was there when it was searched by the FBI's evidence recovery team.
Do you know whether or not the inside of the bag storage area, the luggage area, had been washed?
Unsure of whether it had been washed out, but they didn't find really much of anything in the back.
I now want to turn your attention to January 30th of 2020. Were you part of a surveillance team that was watching the defendant and her daughter Harley hunt?
Yes, I was.
You see the defendant, Letecia Stauch, in the courtroom.
I do.
Point her out and describe what she's wearing.
She's in that corner over there wearing, it looks like a light pink sweater or shirt.
May the record reflect identification of the defendant subject to cross.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
Why were you guys going out to conduct surveillance on the defendant?
At that point, more information had been gathered that were making the lead detectives on the case a little more suspicious about what was going on. We weren't able to determine exactly what had happened yet, but we were concerned based on her actions and how she was reacting that there might be something more than what we knew at that point.
Well, when you say suspicious, were you aware whether or not the defendant had been taken to Memorial Hospital for what's called a SANE examination?
I was vaguely aware, yes.
Were you aware that she gave a statement and said that she was raped?
Yes, I was.
It makes sense that she would then be taken for a SANE examination after that statement.
Yes, it would.
Were you aware that she left the hospital?
I believe they had told us that she had left, but I wasn't involved with that, so I wasn't for sure. I didn't know all the details on that.
Was that part of the reason why you were conducting a surveillance? Because she now became a person of interest, so to speak?
Yeah, it was at that point where I was advised they were actually writing and seeking a search warrant to collect the cell phone of Harley as well as her vehicle.
So talk to the jury about the surveillance. What did you see happen? Did you follow them anywhere and things like that?
We were at a residence down near, not too far actually from the house where they had been staying. We were all in unmarked vehicles. Her and Harley got in the vehicle. They drove around town for quite some time. We followed them. We had numerous vehicles that were following them so that they wouldn't know we were there. They ending up in a parking lot up in the area of Woodman and North Academy is where they stopped, and they went into a store there.
But this store would have been the Marshalls over there?
Yes, it would.
And so what happened when they went in the store? What did the surveillance people do?
So we had undercover officers as well that were in plain clothes that followed them into the store and were maintaining eyes on them to see where the cell phone was.
Now, in the meantime, were others drafting warrants for Harley's white Jetta and Harley Hunt's cell phone?
Yes, they were. And while they were in the store, I was advised by Sergeant Abishan that the warrants had been signed for the vehicle and for the cell phone, and I was ordered to seize them.
And what does that mean when you're ordered to seize something?
We take the vehicle, impound it to our evidence facility. We take the cell phone and place it into evidence, and then we would seek a warrant to then get the contents of that cell phone.
So what happens? Let's start with what happens when the defendant comes out of the Marshalls.
So the defendant came out of the Marshalls by herself. While inside of Marshalls, we were getting reports from the undercover agents that both her and Harley were both using the cell phone while we were in there. They lost sight of them in the store, so they didn't know who had the cell phone at that point. Ms. Stauch come out of the store by herself, walking toward the vehicle. We had determined that we didn't want to let her get back in the vehicle because that becomes much more dangerous for the public when they're in control of a heavy object like that. So it was determined that we would stop her prior to getting to that vehicle to prevent her from entering it and then it turning into something more. As she walked down toward the vehicle, one of the undercover officers from our Vice Narcotics and Intelligence Unit at that point got a thrower vest on with sheriff in big white letters on the front of the vest, pulled in between her and the white Jetta and stepped out of the vehicle. As soon as he stepped out, I was pulling my vehicle in between her and the store to prevent her from getting back in the store. As soon as she saw him, she turned and bolted north through the parking lot and actually passed my vehicle.
Was this Sergeant Ganstein that got out of his vehicle?
Yes, it was.
And when you say she turned around and bolted, what did she do?
She took off running at a full sprint, and he was chasing her through the parking lot.
So what did you do when you saw
I threw my car in the park, jumped out, started giving her commands, started following her, chasing her through the parking lot, and she was ignoring my commands at that point.
How were you dressed that day?
I was in a khaki pants, a black polo that has my name on it, as well as a badge on the left side, and I also had my badge on my belt as well.
You wear that why?
To be readily identifiable as law enforcement.
Did she acknowledge you as she ran by you? Did she look at you?
No, she did not.
And so what did you do next as she ran by you?
As she was running toward another store, I drew my firearm and gave her commands again. She turned her head, and when she saw the firearm, she stopped and started complying with commands.
When you say she saw the firearm, did she look directly at your firearm?
She looked directly back at me over her shoulder, and when she saw it, she stopped.
So how soon after you drew your firearm did she stop?
Almost immediately.
Anything as you drew your firearm?
I was giving her commands to stop at the sheriff's office. Once she stopped, then I gave her commands to get down on the ground, and essentially had her lay on her stomach until Sergeant Gannon was able to get there and then place her in handcuffs.
Was the game plan to arrest her at that point?
No, it was not, and I informed her of that.
Why'd you draw your gun?
At that point, I had no idea what she was doing or what she was planning on where she was going. She was headed toward a crowded building. We didn't know if she had the cell phone, and at that point, we believed something had happened to Gannon. We just didn't know what, and we believed she was the person of interest in that.
Was it unusual for someone under those circumstances to bolt once they see a police officer?
Yes, it is.
Is it unusual for them to stop once they see you draw your fire?
No, it's not.
Why is that?
Generally, when people see a law enforcement officer draw their firearm and point it at them, they in most cases, obey commands at that point.
In case you would have stopped if you didn't draw your fire.
No, I don't.
Sustained jury will disregard the answer.
Well, why'd you draw your firearm?
To get her to stop.
Based on your interaction with Miss Stauch out there at Martian's parking lot, did she seem to understand what you were saying to her? For instance, when you placed her in handcuffs and things like
Yes, she did.
that. Did she acknowledge you as a police officer?
Yes.
After you drew your firearm, did she obey your commands?
Yes, she did.
And did you have to calm her down at all?
I explained to her once we got her in handcuffs, we stood her up, and I explained to her she's not under arrest, she's just being detained. We had a search warrant to seize the cell phone and the car. And at that point, she acknowledged, and then she didn't say another word to me at that point.
What happened when Harley came out of anything?
She started yelling over toward Harley as other officers escorted Harley out of the store.
What was she yelling? And when you say she, you're referring to the defendant?
Yes, I am.
What was she saying?
From my best recollection, she was shouting, "Don't tell them anything."
And did Harley tell you anything?
I did not speak with Harley at all.
Do you know if she spoke to anybody?
I'm unsure. I don't think she did.
Did you go back and assist in a search of 6627 Mandan Drive on February 3rd, 2020?
Yes, I did.
Was this a more thorough search now?
Yes, it was.
Were members of the crime lab there as well to collect evidence?
Yes, they were.
Have a moment, Your Honor.
Me.
So why they are,
Back on
Yeah.
March 9th of 2020, did you have an opportunity to review some video surveillance from a Walmart in Trinidad, Colorado that was dated February 1st, 2020?
Yes, I did.
And why were you reviewing that?
I was advised that the video had been collected as the defendant had been caught on video going into the store purchasing something, and they wanted to confirm whether or not it was her.
And were you able to confirm whether or not you saw the defendant in that surveillance video dated February 1st, 2020?
Yes, I was.
And what was she doing?
She went into the store, walked around, looked at a few things, picked up something near the electronics department, checked out there. Then she walked out the front doors, stopped. They checked her bag and her receipt, and then she walked out, got into the vehicle outside, and they left.
Those are my questions, Jar. Thank you.
Cross-examination, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
Hi, Detective. How are you?
Good, sir.
My name is Will Cook, and I represent the defendant, Letecia Stauch. The Nike tennis shoes that we saw in the exhibits from the laundry room at the Mandan Drive house, did you actually take swab samples of the underside of the shoes at where the pink staining was?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And when you take samples, are we talking about a Q-tip swab?
It's a pair of sterile Q-tip swabs that are used.
Okay. And I take it you have gloves on, and then you put the I don't know what you would call it, the used Q-tips or the Q-tip swabs that have been already used to sample. You put them in an envelope or something secure. So
After we swab whatever we're swabbing with those, we put them back into the open package that they came out of, and then those go into a manila envelope, which is then sealed.
okay. Why do you put them back into the manila envelope and seal those?
Because we only use them to sample one item.
Okay. And you want to have a pure sample or an uncontaminated sample, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you put those in and you took the samples, what were these samples eventually tested for, if anything?
I'm unaware of that. I wasn't the one that submitted them.
Okay. Could these samples have been tested for DNA, blood, poisons? I mean, it's a whole host of things that they could have been tested for, correct?
Those options are out there, yes.
Okay. Who makes the decision on what testing is done on a sample that was taken?
Generally, the lead detective on the case,
Okay.
in conjunction with the lab.
Who was the overall lead detective on this case with Gannon Stauch?
Drawing a blank on her name right now. She's no longer with us. It's Detective Bethel.
Detective Bethel. Okay. And was she the lead detective from beginning to end of this case?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And you state she's no longer with us. Does that mean she's no longer with the El Paso County, Colorado Sheriff's Office?
Correct. She's no longer employed by us.
Okay. Is she still working in law enforcement, or do you even know?
I have no idea.
Okay. So she's the lead detective. I know there's sergeants, lieutenants that have been endorsed and have testified already. Sergeants and lieutenants are above even the detective, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So even above Detective Bethel, who was the overall leader of this investigation?
Overseeing it from the office in conjunction with her at that time was Lieutenant Mahalko.
Okay. So this lieutenant was the overall in charge person?
In conjunction with Detective Bethel, yes.
Okay. Now, before you went out to the house on Mandan Drive, on January 28th, you said you went out there about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Before you went out there, you had already done some work. You had interviewed a Braden Gilliland, an Andrew Conant, Conant, and a Peyton Cerrillos, Cerrillos. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And also, just within a few hours of you going out to Mandan Drive on that date, you also interviewed Genevicia Gagan. First name is Jennavecia. Last name is Gagan, Gaygan.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And at that point, after you had interviewed these individuals, you went to Gannon's house.
Sometime later, yes.
Okay. And so you told Mr. Young during direct examination that you had some baseline of information that you had received when you went on the 28th.
That is correct.
Okay. And in fact, the day before on January 27th, there had been at least 3 El Paso County Sheriff's deputies that had gone through the house and did a search, and they were looking for Gannon.
What we were informed is they had taken a case for runaway as they'd been called out there. And they had done a walkthrough on the house, which is pretty standard because kids like to sometimes go in places and hide where their parents can't find them. And then that's why we check those areas.
Okay. And as a detective, I see you're in a suit and tie. Do you ever wear a uniform? Or since you're a detective, do you wear plain clothes?
Generally plain clothes or the khaki pants and black shirt. Polo.
Okay. Do you ever wear a body camera?
At that time, we were not issued them, no.
Okay. Have you been issued a body camera now?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do you wear it with your plain clothes?
I do with the khakis and polo, yes.
Okay. Now you assisted in surveillance of Letecia Stauch and her daughter Harley Hunt. Is that what your testimony was earlier?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what was the address where that was done?
Where it started, I'd have to refer to my report. I don't remember the exact number or street.
Okay. And you were working with Sergeant Christopher Ganstein?
He was one of them, yes.
He was one of them. Was he the one leading this surveillance?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And he's at that time was with V&I?
Yes, he was.
Okay, and what does V&I mean?
Vice, Narcotics, and Intelligence.
Okay. Were you part of V&I at that time, or are you part of V&I now?
I was not, and I am not now.
Okay. So ultimately, you understood the purpose of this was to get Harley Hunt's phone, which there was a warrant, correct?
Yes.
And to get the white Jetta and impound it, which there was a warrant for that Harley Hunt had been driving, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What else were you supposed to do, or were those the 2 main tasks?
Those were the 2 main tasks.
Okay. If you were outside this residence where the Jetta was, and you had Harley Hunt and Miss Stout both come out and sit in the car, why didn't you just stop the situation then, or light them up and go and seize the phone in the car at that point? Why go through this big rigmarole of driving around, following them, having people in a Marshall store, letting them get out into public? Why do that?
We didn't have a search warrant yet signed by a judge.
Okay. And when did the search warrant come through?
I don't know the exact time. I was informed when we were at the Marshalls and I was sitting outside prior to Letecia Stauch exiting the door. I was advised by Abishan that the warrant had been signed, and that's when I was directed to collect the items.
Okay. Now, Letecia Stauch was a suspect or a person of interest at this time, wasn't she?
Yes,
Okay. And her daughter, Harley Hunt, was a suspect or a person of interest also at this time, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And in fact, the warrants were only for items that belonged to Harley Hunt, her cell phone and her vehicle.
Correct.
On that date that you were describing, you weren't out there collecting, you weren't out to arrest Letecia Stauch, and you weren't out to seize any evidence of hers or any items of hers, correct?
Correct.
On January 31st, you assisted in the execution of a search warrant for a Kia Rio. Can you tell the jury what a Kia Rio is?
It's a small sedan.
Okay, so it's an automobile.
Yes,
Okay. And you searched this vehicle, correct?
I did not. The FBI's evidence response or recovery team searched the vehicle.
Okay. But there was evidence that was collected from the search of this vehicle.
Yes, there was.
Okay. And you actually entered the evidence seized from this Kia Rio into the El Paso County Sheriff's evidence facility, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And it looks like it was a few items, a Kia Rio engine air filter, one, a Kia Rio cabin air filter, one, swab of passenger side rear headrest, soil debris from driver's side rear wheel well, swab from interior driver's side rear door handle. So it looked like there were different swabs that were taken from, I'm not going to go over everything that was taken, but it looks like there was swabs taken from different parts of the vehicle and trace evidence quadrant E, D, C, B, and A. Do you recall logging that evidence at the sheriff's office?
Yes, I do.
On February 1st of 2020, you did some follow-up on a 2016 Nissan Frontier pickup truck, correct?
Yes, I did.
And was it your information that that pickup truck had been seized or taken in from the Mandan Drive evidence address and actually was registered to Al Stout?
He actually drove it to the evidence facility and turned it in.
Okay, so he turned it in, but your information was that it did in fact belong to him. He owned it. It was registered to him.
Yes.
Okay. And you entered into evidence information that was collected from this vehicle. It looks like you took in some 4 trace evidence filters, 2 cabin air filters from the Nissan Frontier, an engine air filter from the Frontier, swabs from different spots of the truck bed. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different swabs from different locations in the Frontier truck bed were taken in, and other trace evidence. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Do you know if Harley Hunt was handcuffed inside the store?
I don't know.
Okay. It said in your report, your information was that she was detained, though.
Yes.
Okay. And when you say detained, a person that's detained by police, while they may not be under arrest, they can't just walk away, can they?
That's correct.
Okay. And were you equipped with a taser at the time of this incident where you drew your firearm?
Objection under relevance.
Mr. Cook?
Could we approach?
All right.
So they're objecting. Anyways, while we're taking this break, I just wanted to let you know somebody was in here. And for those that are still joining in, we're talking about these new rules for YouTube. First of all, they're not new YouTube rules. They have been in place forever. And they're basically, I just posted one section. I'll post several of the sections here shortly because I think they're hilarious. Because, you know, the whole time they've been trying to say that primarily me does mass strike campaigns. I've never done a mass strike campaign in my life. Literally have never done a mass strike campaign. Why? Because like I said many times, they do not work. I even clowned the other side saying, you got these people trying to come over here and mass strike me. And all you're doing is making your audience look like very foolish and waste their ever loving time. Remember me saying that? Well, lo and behold, the dumbasses finally found the piece of paper that basically state everything I've been saying for the last year and a half. And then they post it like they found it. I mean, I'm just like, you guys can't be any more stupid. Even the people on the camera were laughing.
Mr. Young asked you about evidence that was collected from a Walmart in Trinidad that you reviewed on March the 9th of 2020, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you collect the evidence from the Walmart in Trinidad?
I did not.
Okay, but you reviewed it all.
Yes, I did.
Okay. You took screenshots of the video. It looks like in your report you indicated the video you were reviewing from Walmart, you did take screenshots.
I'd have to review my report. I don't recall that.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
May I approach?
You may.
Detective, we want to look at that and see if it can refresh your recollection. They're the bottom. Is that a copy of your report?
Yes, it is.
You see on the first page.
Yes, I do.
After you worked March the 9th of 2020, did you take screenshots of the video from Walmart that you reviewed?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What specifically does that mean you took screenshots? You just shoot it with your iPhone, or what are we talking? Is there a specific device you use to take screenshots of videos, or what?
It was on my computer where I was reviewing the video.
Okay.
I like the layout before.
And what did you
Alright.
do with these screenshots?
They were put on a document and attached with that supplement.
Okay.
Don't like the layout. Sorry, guys. I just don't like it.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
All right.
The witness camera is a little blurry.
That's all I have. Thank you, Detective.
Redirect.
Well, thank you.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Detective Farrell? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down. And before you call your next witness, let's everybody stand and take a stretch. I saw a juror doing that while we were having the press conference, and it looked like a really good idea. Okay. Right. Call your next witness, please.
Call Detective Peter B.
His name again?
Vigil.
Vigil. All right. Detective Vigil, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, sir, please. Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Ready? Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record? Detective Pete Vigil. My last name is spelled Vigil. And what is your occupation? I'm a detective with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. How long have you been with the Sheriff's Office? 13 years. And have you been a detective all those 13 years? About the last 3. Back in January of 2020, what was your role? I just transferred to the SBU unit of the Investigations Division. And were you asked to go out to 6627 Mandan Drive on January 28th of 2020 to assist in a search of that residence? I was. About what time did you get there? Do you recall? I don't. It was dark. Who was there when you got there? When I got there, it was the house. The first time I went to the house, there was me and another detective, and the house was off, and we were just told to contact people inside the house if anyone was there. You're very, very soft-spoken, so you may want to just pull that microphone closer to you a little bit. There we go. Is that better? Is it better for you? It is. All right. Thank you. Did you have issues with getting into the house when you got? Yes. Tell us about that. So me and my partner, we knocked on the door, made several loud announcements to see if anyone would come out. No one came out, so then I decided just to sit outside and see if anyone would show up to the house or if anyone would come out and maybe just didn't hear us. Some moments later, we saw lights come on and the garage opened up, and then we contacted the people that were in the garage. And who did you contact in the garage? Haley and Liana. Was it Lena? Yes, Lena. And Haley Hunt? Harley Hunt, I'm sorry. Yes, Harley Hunt, sorry. You got me saying Haley. All right. So Harley Hunt and Lena are in the garage. Did you say, what's going on? Why didn't you open the door? I did, but I don't remember what they said to me. Did you eventually go in and search the house with, was it Detective Farrell with you as well? Yeah. And was there another detective? Yeah, there were several of us. Was that Detective Arndt? Yes. Okay. Is that who your partner was when you were trying to get in the house initially? Yes. So what I want to do is focus in on Gannon's bedroom and that search of the house, okay? Did you go into his bedroom? Yes. Did you notice any smells when you went into his bedroom? Yeah, like an ammonia bleach smell. And what did that mean to you? Cleaning supplies. It's like it was being cleaned. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did you see cleaning supplies in his bedroom? No. Just where was? I'm sorry. My fault. Where was the smell coming from? So the light switch was when I was originally told to take pictures of the house once we first got there. So I took pictures of the entire house. When I got there and I was at the threshold of his doorway, that's when I started smelling it. And then I started smelling in more obvious areas. There was a light switch, and then when I entered the room, the smell got stronger as I would get into the room. And did you eventually look at his mattress of his bed, Gannon's mattress? Yes. And did you see what appeared to be blood on his mattress? There was a stain on the mattress. And did you swab that stain? Yes. And did you swab different areas of that particular stain? Yes. I may approach, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as 278 and 687. Let's start with 278. What is 278? 278 is a package of 2 swabs from the bed on the east wall. And is that the swabs that you took from that mattress that had, was it blood or what? What did you think it was? I didn't know what it was at the time. I don't think any of us did, so we swabbed and just sent it off for testing. All right. So does that contain the swabs, at least, of the portion of the mattress that you did on January 28th? Yes. And is that package still sealed? Yes. Do you need to open it to see if the swabs are in there? No. Move to admit People's Exhibit 278.
Okay. 278 will be admitted.
Now let's go to People's Exhibit 687. What is People's Exhibit 687? Swabs from 2 additional swabs from the bed located on the east. Is that the same mattress, Gannon's mattress that you swabbed on January 28, 2020?
Yes.
You need to open that package to see if those swabs are in there.
No.
Move to admit 687.
687 will also be admitted.
I handed you a picture, or at least I put it on your chair there, People's Exhibit 277. Do you recognize that picture?
Yes.
What is that picture of?
The storage room in the basement of the address.
And did you take that picture?
Yes.
And is that accurately depict the storage room as you saw it on January 28, 2020?
Yes.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 277.
277 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Your Honor, at this time, I request to publish People's Exhibit 312, which is already in evidence.
Go ahead.
Detective Vigil. Sorry, it's been a long afternoon for me. We're looking at People's Exhibit 312, which is a still taken from January 27th of 2020. Do you recognize the storage room in this still?
It's the same storage room, but it wasn't like that when I took a picture of it.
What do you mean?
That it's been altered or someone was going through it and moved boxes.
Were the boxes stacked up like that on January 28, 2020 when you went to photographs?
No.
If we can now go to People's Exhibit 277. We may have to mute it, Your Honor, so we can get 277 on there. Turn off the screen for a minute.
Oh, got it.
Thank you. It's right. Okay, we can unmute it. Thanks,
Good.
Judge.
All right.
So is this what that same area looked like on January 28, 2020, the next night when you were?
Yes.
The boxes aren't stacked up as high?
Correct.
Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Press examination.
No questions.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Detective Vigil? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Judge. We would call Spencer Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Come up a little farther. It's all right. Right there's good. You swear from the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you? Doing well. How are you? Good. Have you ever testified before? No. We couldn't tell. I'm kidding. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury and then spell your name for the record?
Yes. My name is Spencer Wilson, S-P-E-N-C-E-R. Wilson, W-I-L-S-O-N. I'm a reporter with CBS 4.
All right. That's what I was going to ask you next. I want to jump back even prior to now. What kind of training education do you have that allows you to be a news reporter?
I have a degree from the University of Missouri in broadcast journalism and going on 10 plus years of experience as a television reporter.
I've never had the opportunity to do this before as a Jayhawk. I have to say rock chalk to a Missouri grad.
I will just say MIZ and leave it at
that. Back in January of 2020, who were you working for then?
KKTV 11 News.
What was your job assignment in that time period?
I was a multimedia journalist, which just means that I am a cameraman as well as a reporter at the same time. So one-man band.
Was it common for you to cover stories in the Pikes Peak region, Colorado Springs, El Paso County?
Very common, yes.
As a part of your job, would you sometimes interview people out in the community?
Yes.
How many interviews do you think you had done at that time of your career?
Thousands.
On-camera interviews?
Yes.
Thousands. Did you start to, at some point, cover the Gannon Stauch case?
I did.
How did your coverage start? in that case?
It was kind of bouncing around between different reporters. Eventually, one day I was put on the story, and I can't remember if it was the very first day or if it was the second day I was doing the story, but I was out there and made contact with Letecia Stauch.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Was there anything odd about you making contact or the way the contact unfolded for you?
Yes, I can remember it very clearly. I was on the sidewalk. We were just covering a search that day in the neighborhood. And there was a big moving truck and also a car pulling out of the neighborhood. And somebody rolled down their window and started to chastise me for coverage, being out there and reporting on stuff, and questioned the way that I was telling the story. That person was Letecia Stauch. And I realized that, and I said, well, if you got such a problem with this, why don't we go talk about it?
So when this, you described two vehicles. What you said was a moving truck. Was this like a van, like a utility van?
Yeah.
And then the other vehicle, what kind of vehicle was that?
No better description than just a standard car.
Okay.
Not like a truck, not a SUV, little car.
Which vehicle was the defendant in when the window rolled down and there were words said towards you?
The car in the front, the moving car was behind them. She was not in that car.
So she was in the actual vehicle,
That is correct.
passenger vehicle. What seat was she in?
Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you.
Okay, that's fine.
I believe driver's seat, but I don't feel super clear on that.
Was it immediately apparent to you that the person that was saying these words to you was Letecia Stauch?
No, it took about 5 seconds. And since I had been keeping tabs on the case and the social media along with it, a lot of people were talking about her at the time. And then when it did click, I had this moment of, oh gosh, this is the people everyone's trying to talk to.
What was her demeanor like when she did that?
Angry, I guess is the best way to put it. She was not excited that I was there. She was not excited to see other members of the media there. There was a lot of people down there covering the story. And just the words she said to me were basically, you're doing this wrong.
Okay. And so then that's when you make this arrangement to go talk somewhere else. Did you in fact do that?
That's correct. I offered to do an interview. She mulled it over for a quick second. There was some conversation in the car. Eventually she said, okay, we'll give this a shot. And I said, being the reporter I was for that station, I don't want everybody else to have this at the same time. So let's go somewhere else. And she agreed that it would be a spectacle if we were to do it right there. So we drove to a construction lot, maybe half a mile away.
Okay. And just for contextual reference, was this on January 31st, 2020?
Correct.
So roughly, I guess, 4 days after Gannon was first reported missing to the police?
That's correct.
4 days and she's moving everything out.
So tell us, how do you go about setting up doing an on-camera interview in a general sense? And then how did you do it in this case?
Generally, I will talk to the person beforehand, kind of give them an explanation of what's about to happen. This is all while I'm handing them a remote microphone that will then clip onto some part of their body somewhere. And then I begin by asking them to say and spell their full name and explain who they are to the story. That's fairly standard practice. I think almost every reporter does that ever. The difference on this story was a part of the circumstances where Letecia was willing to talk to me was in the event that she did not have to show her face. And so I try to get creative because I desperately wanted to have this interview, but at the same time, I could not show her face, which is difficult for TV because we have to show things. I came up with the idea if she looked away from the camera and if I looked towards it, you could still see the conversation happening. That being said, you would not see her face.
Let's talk a little bit about this microphone that you just described that would click on somebody's clothing. Does it have a wire that goes to some sort of little control box that is somehow then wirelessly connected to your camera?
That's correct.
Is it typical that that control box to that microphone would stay with the person while that microphone is attached to them?
That's correct.
If a person walked away from the camera to a different area or, proximity wise, would the camera still pick up on anything that that microphone is picking up on?
That's correct.
Did that happen in this case?
Yes.
Was it odd to you as a reporter that had done thousands of interviews that Letecia was asking you to do this interview but not have her face facing the camera?
Not entirely so. It did make it an unusual situation, but there are some instances where people ask to not have their face shown, sometimes shoot somebody's hands as video when we're talking to them. And considering the nature of this interview, where she was hesitant to do it in the first place, I was more willing to accept the terms of that agreement.
Did the fact that you were able to do this interview, was that a good get for you as this news cycle was developing?
My newsroom was ecstatic, yes.
Did you play along with what the defendant was telling you during this interview to keep her talking?
As a part of that training you mentioned at the University of Missouri, it is told to us that in order to have a conversation with someone, you cannot agree with what they're saying, but you do need to keep them continuing what they're saying. That is why, as you're nodding right now, I would nod along with whatever was being said. That doesn't necessarily mean I was agreeing to anything. It was meaning that I needed her to keep saying things.
Okay. And you did that in this particular case?
That's correct.
All right. Was there a portion of this interview where she asked you actually to redo a portion of it?
That's correct.
Tell the jury about that circumstance.
Towards the end of our interview, after we had had a couple different conversations, I was also, mind you, the cameraman in this instance too, so I'd have to stop and walk behind the camera, hit stop, hit start if we needed to redo things. I think we cut it maybe 2 or 3 times, took breaks, came back on. At the very end, this was the thing that was the most interesting to me and why I remember it so much, is that I asked, is there anything that you would want to say to Gannon? In this interview, she had told me that she believed he was coming home. She said yes, gave her statement, and I said, okay, we got it. And then she said, you know, what if we did that one more time? And I said, sure, whatever you want. So I went back, turned the camera back on, but this time she was crying when she was not crying the first time, and her demeanor completely changed. It went basically from, I can't wait till you're home, everyone's going to see that I'm not lying, they owe me an apology, to, I will not mimic someone crying, but she was very upset in the second part, which took a second to happen.
Based on the things that you were hearing coming from the defendant, Letecia Stauch in this case, during that interview, did it seem that she was more focused on how she was being perceived publicly as opposed to helping find Gannon?
Absolutely. I talked to neighbors who were more concerned for Gannon.
Sounds like Don Wells.
And Your Honor, may I approach with People's Exhibit 334?
And Candace Bly. Sorry, sounds just like them. And as you heard this reporter say, that's unusual.
Mr. Wilson, I'm holding a disc, People's Exhibit 334. Do you recognize this disc?
I do.
Why do you recognize
I just watched it in the other room.
So did you put your signature on it in today's date?
That's correct.
The contents of this disc, is it basically a file of that interview?
That's correct.
Is it an accurate representation of your interview?
Yes.
Exhibit 334 to be admitted.
And permission to publish, Your Honor.
You are?
I am Letecia Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20-some death threats already. 2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home. And of course, I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation, I was told I wasn't complying. And can I elaborate on that? Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, said I still wasn't complying, or said I was, trying to run away or something. But during the interview, I asked several times, could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? Could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? I was denied. I was told I couldn't get nothing to drink. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it's continuously that my constitutional rights were violated.
And that's why you say that they said then you weren't cooperating with the investigation.
That's why they said I wasn't cooperating at that time. Correct.
And why did you ask for an attorney at the time?
Well, I asked for an attorney at the time because there was one individual, there was two really good detectives, and so I'm not, going to talk bad about detectives, but the tactics they started to get when I would answer questions, they try to, they're detectives, they're supposed to twist. The one main goal is to find Gannon. But during that time, some of those things made me feel uncomfortable the way they were saying things. So I immediately stopped and felt like an attorney would help me with some of the vocabulary and things like that I needed help with and understanding some of the things that they were asking.
I'm going to shift gears to what has become a huge online presence of people obviously trying to do the right thing, help find Gannon. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like we're in the library. Have you seen any of those comments yourself?
We have, and see, that's one of the main things we haven't been around in the public eye because I didn't want to expose my family to it if all these things were going on. There was comments about Gannon getting pushed off the hike, and there was comments about this, and that's just not true. I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it. And
that's
I would
awful to say.
never, ever hurt this child. And I know there's some questions out there about, okay, so tell me what happens. That's up to the investigations when they end up letting you guys know. But I've cooperated with them, even to the point that we were held with a gun. And my daughter, a 17-year-old who serves our country in the United States Air Force, who has never committed a crime or done anything wrong in her life, was put in handcuffs over the keys that was in her purse so they could take her car.
And they weren't in there.
They weren't even in her car. In her purse. They were in my pocket.
You originally didn't even know it was a law enforcement officer?
I didn't know it was a law enforcement officer because when he came out, I guess he was putting his jacket on, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was adjusting and happened to catch me. But I saw the gun and I panicked originally and kind of thought, oh gosh, who's this guy? And then once I realized it was the sheriff's office, I was totally okay, but they still had a gun and told me they were going to shoot me. But I was really concerned about my daughter asking why she was being detained in handcuffs and things like that, when that shouldn't even happen for a child. That shouldn't happen for someone who was standing inside of a store shopping because we couldn't have any clothes because all of our clothes were here. We came here and got clothes, we would be harassed. So she went to purchase some underwear and things like that and was put in the handcuffs in the store, and then brought out with men with guns. And that's just not okay. They could have approached me and said, hi, I'm with El Paso County. Can I please get this? Instead of the way that it happened.
I'm just going to take your shot. You and me. Still got a recording. Still can hear you okay? Okay. Yeah, it sounds like we're good. Every once in a while, my mic will be loud. I want to make sure that's not going to happen here. I should try and clarify here, not necessarily crime rates, but the way that people are reacting online to rumors about you with the search.
Oh yes, wow. The rumors have gotten so bad. I pretty much have been told at least 10 different ways that these people have these conspiracy theories. I guess they watch a lot of law shows and maybe they have all these theories on how Gannon is dead. And that's what they're saying. So I'm like, why are you saying Gannon is dead? He is not dead. We are going to find
because
Gannon.
we're smarter
And
than
that's
you,
the
woman.
main goal that
We've
all
been
have.
around the block
My
more
family
times. We
Just
cover
because you haven't
cases
seen
like
us,
this.
we have that same goal. We've been out searching. My aunt has been out searching. My family has been out searching. We all have been doing that together so that we can protect each other.
How does it feel when not only you have a lost child you are in care of, but then people blaming you for that child?
I'm just ready for Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
Can you tell me a little bit about him? I don't know him.
Gannon is so kind, and he loves to play video games. That's one of his favorite things. He loves Sonic and Mario, and you know, he's always helpful, and he was always so helpful with the dogs around the house, and we have 2 little cute dogs, and he was always like a person I could say, Gannon, can you go do this? And he would do it right away. You know, sometimes with kids, we have to remind them and things like that, and that's okay, but he was so sweet and able to help anyone. He could notice when you're sick and say, are you okay? And such a kind heart.
I know you just said that you can't say anything about the investigation, so you can just say something that you can't answer this, but is there anything we can hear about the hike? Was there a hike? You know, that just seems like rumors right now.
You know what? Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that, you know, she came home from work after the hike, and she can verify that Gannon was at our home.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And if she doesn't want to, that's okay, but you're allowed to say no.
This is where she walks away on a hot mic.
I need Hartley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work. No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work, and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah. I told her she didn't have to be too in depth because she is still, you know, a child. But I want to make sure that someone knows that there's another person to verify that Gannon.
Sure.
Does she need to hold this?
No.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Okay, so, I guess when
And then we ate Burger King afterwards, so, you know.
there you go.
Yeah.
And then it just was I'm gonna go to bed at a friend's house. And then it was just I'm off to go to bed at a friend's house.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to like comment on that anymore, and for that reason is because some things have been turned and twisted. And you know, that was one of those stories you were talking about where people say things. We had to hear things like who would let their child go out at dark and things like that, and that's just why I don't want to answer that. If I had to give, I'm not gonna say that part.
That's okay.
Never mind. I can take that out.
I understand that it gets tricky with stuff. Do you feel like I asked you what I need to? Do you feel like this is going to help kind of turn the tide of what feels like a witch hunt, in my opinion?
I hope am I on camera now?
You are.
Okay. I think that a lot of people can see that I'm not missing and see that I am being cooperative, but to me, it's okay that they think those things because the way someone thinks about me, I don't have a problem with that. My main thing is I would never want someone to think that I would hurt Gannon or any of the children in our home because that's just not the case. I've spent my whole entire life working so hard in education. There's even things online that was talking about my education license and I shouldn't even be a teacher. And they just didn't know that. Like we moved on a military move and I didn't finish out my contract. So I gave up my license in that state. It had nothing to do with any criminal activity, you know, or any of those things. And it just got blown out of proportion on my professional status, you know.
Do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing?
It definitely is. And, you know, here's the thing that kind of saddens me. It's like, if you're going to talk about someone like that and have a witch hunt out for them, why would you even care, like, about doing those things? Because this is a child. You're telling me that you're just as mean, you're just as hateful to talk about someone else like that. That's how I feel. Like we should all come together and wait until the end and see what happens because Gannon's going to come home.
Any message for Gannon?
The message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband. We just wanted to add a message to Gannon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Gannon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
Mr. Wilson, it's probably fairly obvious, but the person that you were interviewing there, is she here in the courtroom?
She is.
Will you please point around and describe what she's wearing for the jury?
Pink shirt.
You're pointing over to the right-hand side of the courtroom?
That's correct.
Female at defense table?
That's correct.
I'd ask that the record reflect she's identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
Mr. Wilson, did the defendant appear to be of sound mind to you while you were with her? Yeah.
No, he can give his opinion regarding what he thought about her mental state at the time.
Yes. Did she seem to be able to answer questions to you logically and give coherent answers? Yes. You mentioned that, to your memory, that she was driving the passenger vehicle? Yes. Did she seem to be following the rules of the road? Yes. Could she stop when she was supposed to stop? Yes. Was she driving on the right side of the road as opposed to the left? That's correct. During that interview, do you remember, is there a point in time where she's referring to Gannon in the present sense and then she changes it to the past tense? Yes. Do you remember when that was?
We just watched it.
Okay.
Sorry.
If we can queue up 5 minutes and 50 seconds, please. We're going to just replay that portion, Judge, because it happens fairly quickly.
Look at her. She's just looking down. She's not staring at. She's not.
Approach me. Hi, I'm Widow. Out of the way. Even my ball shuts in. That won't take.
That child.
You know, I'm just ready for Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am.
So it's pause right now at 5 minutes and 33 seconds, and then we'll get to that 5 minutes and 50 seconds section. Go ahead and play it, please.
Going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon, and I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
Can you talk to me a little bit about him? I don't know him.
Gannon is so kind, and he loves to play video games. That's one of his favorite things. He loves Sonic and Mario, and you know, he's always helpful, and he was always so helpful with the dogs around the house, and we have 2 little cute dogs, and he was always like a person I could say, Gannon, can you go do?
Was that significant to you that it changed in mid-statement from present sense to past tense? I'm asking his impression of it.
Now I'm going to sustain the objection. I think the jury can draw their conclusions about it. I'm not sure that his opinion about it adds any extra relevance.
Okay.
The objection sustained.
Okay. What about when this interview ended? Did she get back into the driver's seat of that passenger vehicle and drive away? Yes. She again appeared to be driving and following the rules of the road. That's correct. Thank you. That's all I have.
Cross-examination.
One of the reasons
I'm sorry.
that she expressed she didn't want her face to be seen and she had concerns for her safety.
Correct.
No further questions.
Redirect. Do any of the jurors have any questions for Mr. Wilson? Okay, just write it down. And looks like just the one. And counsel approach, please.
Yeah, but look at her. She's got her head hanging down. I think at this point, this juncture in this process, you know, whatever days in we are, I think this is what, day 5. Gotta go look back. I think this is day 5. But what juncture we're at today, you know, 5 days ago, she was making faces and thinking it was a joke. Today, she's got her head hanging down, and I think it's starting to hit her. This is not going to end well for her. I think she realizes that they're proving that she's not insane. So if you hear me back here chomping, it's because I'm eating dinner. But I will tell you, as soon as this goes down, which it'll be ending for the day soon, we're gonna stop because I'm exhausted.
Mr. Wilson,
But we'll
did
talk a
the
little bit.
defendant stop crying immediately following the interview? Did her demeanor change following the interview?
Yes.
Let me ask those separately so that it's clear which one is you're answering to. Did she stop crying immediately following the interview?
Quicker than a normal person would stop crying.
And did her demeanor change following the interview?
Yes.
All right, I will allow reasonable follow-up as to those questions only. Prosecution?
No.
Defense?
Did the camera shut off immediately after the interview, or was there film that was not shown that would have shown her demeanor afterwards?
The relevant pieces of information. The camera was still rolling post that interview. That being said, the microphone was removed from Letecia Stauch, and also I left the scene.
So there would have been no video to confirm what you're saying about when she stopped crying.
It would have been outside of the view of the camera. I'm not sure if she had the microphone on at the time.
Okay, and that wasn't played for the jury.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our evening recess. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. I know everybody wants to go home and download some sort of Celebrate program so that they can see what's on their phone. You can't do that. You have to decide this case based only on the evidence presented in the courtroom. So if we can have everyone where they need to be tomorrow, we should be able to start right at 9 o'clock. So have a good evening. All rise for the jury, please.
9 o'clock their time, 11 a.m. our time. I'll leave it here just for a second to make sure that they're done for the day.
Thank you. May all be seated. The record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Defense? Okay. All right, then we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, same place.
Okay, the feed is done. There we go. Let it catch up. There we go. So I'm back to being the picture. Every time I move, the whole screen moves. But I went back and looked at what's going on in here. She's disgusting, covering her ears. Yes. Wait until she gets settled into jail. Yikes. That's when her butt should be scared. Helfig. Everybody just got home from work wiped out. Trust me, I'm wiped out as well. Karen and I went all over this area here. We went to, I want to say, a dozen or so places. I didn't go out for interviews. I went out for kind of scouting, seeing, I'm trying to get to figure out, why we know typically the process, law enforcement process at this point. We know how much information they can get, how quickly they can get it back. While this is not like a mass murder case where that goes literally to the top of the list, we still believe that, they at this point have a good idea of what happened. And it seems to me that they may even have evidence as well as statements from witnesses. So at this point, charges should be getting drafted. And the last time we heard from the chief of police in Glynn County, or assistant chief of police in Glynn County, we're hearing that, it didn't appear that they're any closer to making an arrest. Now you're talking about a assistant police chief that knows the location the situation happened. They have video evidence, okay? Video evidence of the situation that happened. They have spoken most likely to every single person in that house, including their parents, if their parents weren't there. So you can imagine the idea that somehow they don't have enough for an arrest makes you kind of scratch your head. It makes you kind of scratch your head. So then you start digging in a little deeper, and I am finding that these people have money, and not the traditional sense of being comfortable. Like, they have money. And it seems like all of the people, I've got 7 people on my list, only one of them really lived in a modest area. Only one, and it was an apartment. But you know that that little apartment had to cost an arm and a leg because it was on St. Simon's Island. So you're talking about a owner to a hardware store that has been a generational hardware store, had been here since the 1930s. You're talking about a very good realtor that does very well for herself. You talk about one of the girls, is it a girl? No, one of the kids, one of the boys has parents that work for the local newspaper or news. And you have another parent that owns this massive, and I mean massive, chunk of land. That is a landing that hosts events. Water, boat ramp, the whole 9 yards. Including a shop on the main street in St. Simon's Island, on the main drag there. So again, this case is starting to have the hallmarks of the privileged getting away with what us normal people wouldn't get away with. And I don't like that. There is not a 2-tier justice system that I've ever seen, personally speaking. And so I'm just wanting to bring awareness that we know the truth. Do I think any of these kids intended to almost kill him? Of course not. But that's why kids need parents. And when parents have cops show up at their house 11 times in 8 months, and then a child gets injured to the point that they almost lose their life, in my opinion, you're culpable. Because there's been 11 times officers have come to your house in the last 8 months. So I'm really kind of hot under the collar. There's no 2-tier justice system here. And these kids, the ones that were there, now, I don't know who stuck the hose down the throat, but there's not that many kids. There's just not that many kids. So you'll be able to get to the bottom of that pretty quickly. It's not like there was 100 people at this house, guys. It's not like there's 100 people at this house. This is a small group of kids, a little over half a dozen. Somebody knows exactly what happened. You cannot tell me these law enforcement officers don't know. So anyways, I'm just, this is really kind of, disheartening. I support law enforcement. I believe, but I also know that this type of thing does go on. especially to the people of wealth. And this is not going to just be settled in civil court. Law enforcement needs to do their job. Period. Law enforcement needs to grab their cuffs, go get their warrant, and arrest someone. That's how it gets done. The criminals just don't walk themselves into the jail. You know, you actually have to go out and get them. So it's just giving me, I'm just looking at this, you know, with a different lens right now because of all the work we did today. I'm just looking at this case with a different lens, and I was hoping it wouldn't be this way, but it kind of is starting to look this way. So, you know, I think it was I think it was kids goofing off that went overboard, but it's more than just that. It's more than that, just that, because I really think by saying it like that, it downplays the severity of this. This was not the first time this boy and others have been injured at that house. The parents are the ones I am most frustrated with. Because to me, it seems like this was the party house. You don't get the party house name without working for it. And you can't tell me the parents are this blind. Like, you know, you can't tell me the parents were this blind. So I don't know what to do. So tomorrow I'm meeting Karen at the police station. I'm not quite sure what direction I'm going to go yet, but I will be at the police station tomorrow. I'm, you know, obviously, even if I did, you know, decide to protest, it's not going to, you know, it's not a huge thing, but I do want to make sure that they know. So if anybody wants to come to the Glenn County Police Department tomorrow, and just support, you know, even if it's just silently standing, if that's something that you would like to do, if you can do it, please show up. I would love to see you. And we will be talking about it first thing in the morning. So for all the people, I just decided today that I'm going to do it. And I would like, you know, maybe some locals, if you guys are watching my channel and you're in the area and you just want to tell me how this case may have affected you, or if you have any information that nobody else is listening to about this, I'm happy to hear you out. But, you know, I'll be at the police station tomorrow. So I will see you guys later. I just wanted to give you an idea of what, you know, what all work I was doing today. It's been quite a bit of, we went to a lot of places. We went to a lot of places. So I'm exhausted and I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to get a shower and I'm going to call it a night. I still can't even call it a night because I still have the video footage I got to go through from earlier today. And I still have to do some more research for tomorrow. So I think I'm just going to get a hot shower. Hopefully that'll give me my second wind and we'll get started on some more work. But I'll see you first thing in the morning. I love you guys. Have a good night. God bless.